Eclipse season is right around the corner. Major shift is about to happen. Air signs are shifting to a galactic radio signal, and its last call for two Earth signs are moving too slow to grow. And the Leos are reinventing a new celebrity. Taping live at Sensei Studios in Palm Springs, California. Keep streaming for your weekly Namaste Today with soul horoscopes and the Zodiac weather. Greetings and blessings to you, my friends and galactic family, and my earthbound neighbors. This is Namaste Today with soul horoscopes and your Zodiac weather. I'm your host, Christopher Oteki, founder of the Astrology Step System and acting sensei to serious joy. Consider me a friend and cosmic comedian here to laugh with you along the way as we fumble our way to enlightenment. And as a reminder, if you're watching this, please be kind and do subscribe. Hit the bell button wherever you are so you're notified, and leave your comment where you are so the algorithms can take us far. And now to our sun sign headlines of the week. Our lead story: eclipse season is awakening the new human. In 2025, the lunar and solar eclipses create a powerful sequence along the Virgo-Pisces axis, emphasizing practicality, service, and emotional release, and the implementation of a new spiritual story the human race has been working on since Saturn entered Pisces on March 7, 2023. Next week, a step 1, I Love Me new moon in Virgo sets the stage for fresh starts in the organization, in your daily life, in health, and your daily routines. Basically, a new lifestyle. This followed by a total lunar eclipse on September 7th, which happens at step 15 Pisces, is amplifying emotional intensities, your intuition, and the need to surrender control for spiritual advancement and or creative flow. That will, in essence, allow you to download the new story. The lunar cycle culminates with a partial solar eclipse on September 21st, and this will happen Eastern Time at step 29 Virgo. This will be visible in the South Pacific, New Zealand, and parts of Antarctica. But this eclipse urges the release of old habits tied to work or health to embrace new, grounded approaches. The new moon eclipse is the final eclipse of 2025, wrapping up a year focused on refining systems and letting go of perfectionism. It also has allowed old organizations to fall, leaving way for transdimensional new systems to be born, and at the same time, shifting spiritual direction with the North Node in Pisces. Now, step astrology further expands our understanding of these events to be much more profound than what it is with just classic astrology alone. When you examine the eclipses as part of the step system, the first eclipse is at step 1 Virgo. The next is at step 15, a full moon in Pisces, which means the sun on that day is at 15 Virgo. And then another new moon eclipse at step 29 Virgo. You can see a precise surgical removal of the old Virgo consciousness. After all, a full moon is the plowing over the earth, creating new soil consciousness, and the new moon is the planting of new seeds. This psychic surgery is by means of a birth at 1, and then halfway through, the cord cutting and the plowing, and then at step 29, the final end. This means that we are literally planting new seeds of self-love and intention at step 1. We are cutting the cords to the old story at step 15, halfway through. And then we are planting seeds as a master Virgo, so that we are basically creating 2 points of concentration of new human, and that allows us for our spiritual agenda to be born. We will be growing from the bottom up and from the top down and meeting ourselves in the middle with this psychic surgery. Now, this new moon intention that's coming in is really something that came prior to birth in the company of heaven. Later today, the individual soul horoscopes, I'll be touching on the significances of this for all 12 signs, where you are replacing your story and where you'll be planting seeds in this eclipse season so you can be well prepared. Now, our second story is the air signs are now turning into galactic radio stations or new galactic radio stations as of now. That's because the air signs, Aquarius, Gemini, and Libras, have been wired into the telepathic signals low to the ground on Mother Earth through the Middle Ages. Basically, the quiet dark ages were them being quiet. In some cases, signal strength of intuition was like Bluetooth ready, only allowing you to pick up on signals right in front of your face. But a multi-day, multi-dimensional grand trine currently happening in all 3 air signs is elevating the Aquas, the Geminis, and the Libras to a new level of frequency. That is, if they stay on their path and tune out the old trash radio. If you're out of tune with yourself, you will not be able to tune into this universal broadcast. The grand trine unites Pluto and Aquarius which is retrograding from step 2 to step 1. Uranus is innovating energies of self-love, starting at Gemini, step 1, and also promoting creativity and genius potential by being Uranus. That's what it does. It's also helping Geminis to end mental restrictions and dogma. And the triggering planet Mars is in Libra, which tells you to act on shifts from step 5 to step 9. In other words, it's time to change your inner behavior, to tune in yourself to these higher frequencies, and to tune this higher vocabulary of Uranus in Gemini. See, I guess I'm having trouble. In essence, the air signs are called to make the biggest, most difficult change because of this grand trine, due to one of them being in their ego consciousness. Each of them is working on an ego change. And this is the part of them that, of course, resists and persists. For all three of these signs, you'll be simultaneously innovating your ego, your inner child, and your belief in yourself. So you must now dream again, believe again, and then act and follow up on that. It's a simultaneous change, and it's happening for the air signs. We'll talk more about that in your soul horoscopes. And then finally, celebrity is now becoming a soul-lebrity. The Leos are about to reinvent themselves with now Mercury in early Leo and the sun hitting step 29 this week. That means the mind is focused on loving yourself in a new way, and the sun, as it hits 29, is about reinventing your place in the world. This is about how you love yourself, all the way up from inside to all the way out. And it's the way your character is becoming something new. Whereas before, the Leos were more based on showing off and getting attention from the outside world, this new innovative Leo is creating a soul-lebrity. That is, a person who is popular from the inside out. Pluto in Aquarius, for the first time since the 1770s, are calling for Leos to think differently about who they are and how they treat themselves. And ironically, because they're so soul-sensitive, when they change the way they treat themselves, they change the way they're treated in the world. They're realizing that king or queen in their hearts is alone and not without anyone else, that they are the ones that make themselves royal. They are owning their self-love, and with Saturn and Aries, they're starting to believe in this new dogma. This is allowing them to open up to their role in the new era, which I do think will have a late start due to the fact that we're waiting for Saturn to climb up through Aries for them to find their new true purpose. Now, Pisces, the South Node in Virgo, with the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo, this means that Leos are now opening up to transforming themselves and letting go to their old values. In fact, that's really what's changing underneath, a value swap out. That they used to value attention, and now they value their own attention. They used to value being shiny, and now they think of themselves as shiny. And we'll talk about this soul swap for every story TV show 12 signs and our personal soul horoscope later. But first, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. This Serious Joy Zodiac Weather Update spans from Saturday, August 16th to Friday, August 22nd, 2025. And is proudly sponsored by CAPTIVATED Organics. CAPTIVATED Organics is celebrating their 30th anniversary this week. Their botanical products are handcrafted by a group of amazing women inspired to consciously infuse love and blessings into every item made for timeless beauty. In celebration of their milestone, they're offering a special 30% off discount on individual products purchased through CAPTIVATED.com. Wishing a happy anniversary to my friends at CAPTIVATED. You were a pioneer 30 years ago, and you're a conscious business leader today. Looking on to our zodiac weather for the weekend forecast. Over the weekend, we move from step 23 to 24, which is the realization and accepting of your future truth. Let's drill down. On Saturday, we're predicting sunny and priceless as the tone of the collective consciousness. Net 5 means that Mercury rules the day, finally direct in Leo. You're thinking forward now and coming up with the big picture of what your heart truly wants, that golden egg dream. The root intention affirmation is, I love understanding my heart's truth, and I'm ready to love deeper. The moon begins in Taurus, so it's pretty solid, but by nightfall, things will be bouncing with ideas as the moon is in Gemini. On Sunday, it's sunny and feeling really playful. You'll be playful in church or playful wherever you go. Maybe want to be the one that cracks the joke. Step 24 means that Venus rules the day, opening it to accept and receive where you feel you belong in the future. The moon's still in Gemini, so it's a good day to talk about it with your friends or family. The root intention affirmation, I love my heart's creation. Creating from my heart because why not? Then looking ahead at the 5-day weekday forecast. Over the course of the week, we move from step 25 to step 29, wrapping up the transit in Leo for a year. On Monday, it's sunny and learning. Step 25 means that Net 7, which is the I sense state of awareness, rules the day, otherwise Neptune. Intuitive information will be flowing. You'll also be learning and understanding what the spiritual portion of your heart's desires come to be. The moon begins in big picture Gemini, thinking about your thoughts and feelings regarding the future, but then shifts into Cancer, where you'll become introverted and cloudy, feeling how you feel about everything. The root intention affirmation is, I love divine connection, opening to a new love language at the same time. Energetically, you're going to find a new way to express it. And with Mercury and Leo sextiling Mars at step 7, your mind and ego are taking a knee so that you can listen. On Tuesday, it's sunny and cosmic. Step 26 tells us that Saturn rules the day. Therefore, it's a day to make decisions, take command, and be the leader you always needed to have as your own. The moon is in Cancer, giving you a nice emotional spectrum to weigh your options and make sure that you emotionally choose what feels the best, not just makes the most sense. An apex of the Sun in Leo trine Chiron retrograde happens at 1:29 p.m. Eastern Time, which means that you will also pull into the equation your character and how it fits it or does not fit it. Then by sundown, we predict a decision. The root intention affirmation is, I love devoting to a pure heart, reawakening the divine heart. On Wednesday, we predict sunny and majestic as the collective conscious tone. Step 27 indicates that Mars rules the day. It's time to take the first step to the rest of your life. With the moon starting in Cancer, you may feel very solid, but once the moon moves into Leo, you might feel self-conscious. You may need some extra self-love support to move forward. The root intention affirmation is, I love myself royally, the heart's red carpet moment. This is where you stand tall and walk majestically to your personal dreams. On Thursday, it's sunny and festive. Step 28 means that Earth rules the day. Mother Gaia will have her way. On this day, the moon is in Leo, bringing extra sunshine, warmth, and love to the conversations and equations. The root intention affirmation of this day is, I love celebrating my heart. Welcome to the coronation. This is, in fact, the day where you name yourself as king or queen and also name your conscious land. By the end of the day, you're holding space for all to be well. And then on Friday, it's sunny but floaty. Step 29 indicates that Chiron rules the day. It's time to love yourself and love yourself some more. Be sure to respond to your feelings, not the person that triggered them, and realize you may be tested on anything you learned about being devoted to your own heart first. With the moon in Leo, you are feeling your energetic high and the potential of where this love can go. The root intention affirmation is, I love mastery, and now where can my heart go? The energy shifts swiftly by 4:33 p.m. Eastern Time as the sun then ingresses into constant Virgo. And then later at 10:29 p.m. Eastern, Venus in Cancer will square Chiron retrograde, meaning the first test emotionally of your new character and direction. We're in the month of Leo, which we have titled The Quiet Truth of the Heart. We're awakening our divine heart right now, meaning we're on to the story we were born to live, or at least we intended to live when we came down here from the company of heaven. This week, we'll move from step 23, Leo, all the way to step 29, almost a perfect buttoning up of the season. The moon will shift this week from Taurus all the way through 29 Leo. So we're basically kickstarting all of our ability to manifest and materialize what I call our golden egg project, or in some cases, our diamond egg project. Those projects are the seed of what we've come here for, a personal dream that's most likely going to help the world in the new era. This is you wanting something and wishing something, but at the same time, this is you being able to make it happen. And I should say, subscribers to SeriousJoy.com will be enjoying day-by-day play-by-plays on how to make the next step in your sign and achieve these goals. You can try for the first month for just $3.99 and take your red carpet on your ascension path at SeriousJoy.com. So we'll be taking a quick little break here. And when I return, I'll be talking to you about your soul horoscope and what you're focusing on for the week. Keep streaming.
Hello, I'm Sanandra, founder of CT Organics. We are celebrating our 30th year anniversary as a small business with simple, clean, organic skin and hair care made with love. To celebrate our 30-year anniversary, enter code word JOY30 at checkout and you'll receive 30% off any individual CT skin and hair care product.
Happy anniversary, CT!
Aloha! I'm Mary, and I'm inviting you to experience the mystical world of the tarot with me. As a tree-hugging dirt worshiper, a retired wildlife biologist, and a sprite of the forest, my readings take you into the realms of elemental creativity to unearth a deeper awareness for those big decisions that you have in life. The first 50 viewers to email me with the coupon code below and book a reading will receive 50% off that reading. I can't wait to see what the cards have in store for you. Mahalo nui loa.
And now on to Soul Horoscopes, our probably most popular part of our show. We go back almost 20 years in January. For 19 years and solid, I have been delivering horoscopes on the internet for all 12 signs. It started in the first 5 years with 12 a day, 5 days a week. And then I shifted after 5 years of being tired into once a week with all 12 signs. And this is indeed the best time to be tuning into Soul Horoscopes. If you know a friend who wants to know a great horoscope, please refer them. It's the nicest thing you could do for us. Now, looking at this week ahead, we all have 12 stories. If you don't know, the 12 zodiac signs are really 12 states of human awareness. You might know or figure this out, but Gemini being our mind and Aries being our ego, Taurus being our values, all this makes up the virtual reality we call life. And so when you have a sun in a particular sign, you really have a sun in a state of awareness. It's that you are playing football for the team on that state of awareness. And I believe personally that the combination of all signs on the earth are actually changing what that is for everyone. In other words, if all the Aries push ego to a new limit, I believe all other humans have the ability to push their ego to a new limit. So it's kind of cool. We're all playing for each other's teams. We all play for each other in the end. Now, looking ahead at this week, it's a powerful week. I mean, maybe the most powerful of your entire life because we're wrapping up what our personal dreams are. That may sound like a luxury, but that's the way Earth was designed to be. From the heart, for the heart, and with the heart. But we have not been able to in this age of survival, and we've been burdened with our own shadow boxing and our traumas and our past life dramas that we had to live out and clean up. But this transition, what I call this lunar eclipse season, this eclipse season rather, that's happening in the Virgo consciousness is actually our transforming of the physical part of our life to match the spiritual intention. We are in fact installing new hardware after an entire summer and year of installing new spiritual language, if you will, and new thoughtware through Gemini. So for this week in our Soul Horoscopes, I'll be talking about, first of all, where you're wrapping up your personal dreams, what's important to you and where that plays out in your life, and how to choose the right voice inside yourself. I'll also talk about the fact that the sun is trining Chiron this week. And what that means is an opportunity for your heart to reinvent a new character for yourself and where that character will reside. And then I'll talk about what this transit season will be for you. So you can prepare right now for those 3 different moon events that I talked about earlier in the show that are going to affect your life. All right, let's begin now with the Aries. Aries, you are, first of all, literally wrapping up your personal dreams. When you are an Aries, you have a pure astrology, which means you represent the entire species. You are the core of what's happening. And so the core of what's happening is with the sun in Leo, we are now stepping into a new personal dream. Now, I like to call this a golden egg project or a diamond egg project. What's the difference? Golden is just personal to your heart. Diamond is personal to your heart, and it will likely change the world. And there are many people who are here to change the world simply by following their greatest dreams. You're number one of them. It's important that you find your dreams and your heart in what you want to do. And even if you can only make it to a garage band, so to speak, on the weekends, you're doing your part for the earth because you're bringing artistry to a sign that otherwise has been known for brutality. That's the invention of you. That's the creation of you. Aries as the new artist, as the trailblazers of the new era. You'll be taking the risks for all of us that we don't want to take without seeing you do it first. And you'll have the courage to do so. Plus, this will be a lot more fun. In the past, you had to sacrifice your body and nearly die, or die literally. This time, the only thing that'll die is your act on stage and perhaps the applause. So this week, it's important for you to commit to what your heart really wishes for. And if something seems unrealistic, wish for that first, and then maybe wish for a backup plan. That way, you're kind of covered. Wishing is what's important because wishing bypasses the mind and bypasses your emotional trauma. By wishing, you have this attitude of you'll take it or leave it, like you're hoping that it happens. And that's really the approach one wants to take when it comes to pursuing their personal dreams, to be expecting it, but at the same time, expecting something even gooder. Now, as you move towards that future, you want to make sure that you feel good about it all along. That's important right now. That grand trine in air is hitting you in all of your intellectual signs. So You are, like I mentioned, starting to think that you can do it. You are starting to believe that you can do it, and you're starting to make it actually happen. And so it is now time to do all three, finding your place in society, your belief, and also your personal dreams. Now, that said, the sun will trine Chiron, and for you, this is a biggie because it's going to link your personal dreams to your new character. You are to become this new star. You are to become whatever it is your heart is pursuing. So you will be a rock star, this star or that star. And energetically, it means you're going to be shining and known for what you're about to do. Now, with this eclipse season coming out, it does mean that you're going to have a lifestyle swap out. The new moon that happens at step 1 means you must develop a new relationship or a renewed relationship to your body to be there for your heart and for your health. Once you do that, you're going to have a lifestyle collapse with the eclipse in the middle, that full moon that happens energetically in Pisces. And then at step 29, you'll be setting the ceiling to what lifestyle can be. So in essence, get prepared. You think ahead. You're going to need an entirely new lifestyle to suit this personal dream. All right, moving on. Taurus. Taurus, right now, your personal dream all hinges on coming from a good home. And don't worry if you didn't come from a good home. That's because you probably had the lesson of how to come from a good home. You see, a Taurus is incredibly fertile and can manifest and materialize better than any of the signs because they rule the sense of value. But the thing about value is you're only as good as you feel. And so if you don't feel great, you don't feel like royalty or like a king or queen or well-pampered and well-nurtured, then you have a hard time putting out good product and services. You have a hard time performing. You have a hard time bringing what's necessary. So this personal dream of Tauruses probably goes all the way back to childhood. Most Tauruses start dreaming about what they want to manifest as early as age 5 and 6, or step 5, step 6 ages, where their mind now comes online and they're ready to accept and receive creativity. You are building in this final Leo energy a new foundation that involves your mind being mindful of how you feel now and your heart being focused on what kind of mattress or security you're going to enjoy to rest. Now, part of this is going to be a new relationship with God universe. Chiron at step 27 and the sun at step 27 Leo are trining for you a spiritual mission that's tied to this new foundation. It could be that in the past life you felt you failed a spiritual mission. And because of that, you were born to a family that treated you like a failure. And maybe you felt like a failure. And maybe you felt like a loser. But I want you to know that was your karma. And the karma wasn't that you did bad in the last life. The karma was you were bad to yourself after you did bad. And because you're bad to yourself, you were born to a situation to not treat you well. So it's time now to develop a new character when it comes to who you are in the complexity of God universe. What's your title? What's your role? And what are you here to do? That will help you to understand the kind of care you need and special circumstances to be treated like a golden bull. Now, that said, that grand trine in air that's happening that I mentioned for the fire signs, it has application to you as well. It means that you're going to be innovating your self-worth. And by innovating your self-worth, you're also going to push forward to treat yourself in day-to-day life and with your health to a new direction. And also when that happens, it'll be time to now point your career in the right direction. So as you self-nurture, you'll find that your finances, your career, and your daily life all move to a higher vibration. Lastly, it's important to note where this Virgo swap out is. That first new moon at step 1 means it's time to love yourself first and love yourself some more. Your inner child is getting a boost. Then the step 15 full moon is calling for you now to let go of your issues of where you're supposed to be in society and instead allow yourself to go to where you really want to be in society. And then that final event at 29 Leo is going to be a test of, in Virgo, it's going to be a test of whether or not you can become your personal dream. In other words, you're going to have to play the role to make it manifest. Geminis. Gemini, with the sun in Leo wrapping up this week, it has to do with adapting to a new attitude. Because you're ruled by your mind, you tend to be repetitive and go around in circles. You have to reprogram every now and then and upgrade the thoughtware. And that's what you're doing. It's now time to let in wishes of the heart into the thinking and how you process. It's now time to create personal dreams that may not make logical sense and may not have all the dots, the T's crossed and the I's dotted, but it'll be something your heart wants and your mind can chase after. Even though you love to be in your mind, technically the mind is not the ruler of the human being. It's the heart. And so what we're asking you to do here is for you to have your dreams come true. You've got to turn your keys of your mind over to your heart. Let your heart have the password to your computer and let your heart determine what's on the playing board and what's not. Now, part of this will be the sun trining Chiron, which means that you're going to be connecting your new thinking with your new placement in society. that you're meant to be in a different place in society, but your story sort of tells that once upon a time you were strong in the world, but somehow you fell from grace. Somehow you lost the world's reputation and your character became kind of blundered. Now, that may be why you were born into a situation where you felt not popular, not heard, and no one really wanted to pay attention to you. That's because your karma was, in fact, that you had been up there at the top and you had allowed yourself to fall. Chances are the reason why you fell was because you got too logical. You shifted out of your creative thinking, and you also did not really put your heart as the leader of your mind. And so now that here we are ready to launch a new story, it comes down to launching this new mindset, a mindset that adopts the heart and allows the heart to be the ruler of the mind. And that alone will put you in the right place in society. Now, this Virgo swap out that we talk about has to do with your emotional foundation. The childhood you were born to was a childhood of your karma. And you took things very particularly because you did not have emotional coping skills. You used your mind to catalog and create all sorts of buzzwords and terms to try to think your way out of your pain versus nurture yourself literally. Now it's time to learn what the Virgos already know, how to self-nurture and to heal from an emotional perspective. That means that on the first event, the new moon, you will be, the full moon, new moon, at Self 1, you'll be taking on and adopting a new self-nurturing approach, a new way of responding to your feelings. You can't respond to them with a thought. You have to respond to them with some sort of physical action. Then the full moon in Pisces will then swap out your daily emotional care. That means you might move. You might find yourself transferred to another school. You might find yourself with a whole new way of dressing, so you're more comfortable. And then the final event at 29 Virgo is going to be you establishing a new definition of emotional security. And that definition will probably involve more than money. It'll involve nurturing, emotional care, and probably a lot of sleep. Cancers, this Sun in Leo and personal dream actually has a lot to do with abundance, believe it or not. Cancers do like to live the fine life like everyone else, but they usually tend to be so caring, they went ahead and let go of their personal desires and their personal attachment to material and shared it with another person, which was sweet and all, but it lowered your self-worth. So your personal dream is actually to manifest something, whether it's a family or a business or a situation that cares for others and makes money. It's still something you're manifesting and materializing, and Cancers are the only sign that materializes strictly from love. So that can only come from an attitude of loving yourself. Mercury in the low degrees of Leo is calling for you to think differently about self-worth, to know that you must be the one to pat yourself on the back and mentally be there for yourself. And the Sun climbing up to the high degrees of Leo says that your heart must surrender to the passion of what you really value and to surrender to your values altogether. That is where you will manifest basically your diamond egg or golden egg. You'll manifest the cash, and the cash will buy what you want. Now, to get there, it does mean you have to repair your character when it comes to career and legacy. Your character has been bruised, probably because you came to work with more of an attitude of caring at home and trying to put that care into the business. But you probably also found that that kind of care does not work in the business. That reality of life wants someone who shows up, gets the job done, and does it without complaining. You also failed to actually put your own needs emotionally into your work, often being the one to sacrifice for others. So this week, as the Sun trines Chiron, it's time to realize that that old version of your resume is now dead, and that it is tied to a new heartfelt desire to be valued the way you deserve. And when you walk into the professional setting, wanting that value, desiring that value, and seeking that value in every moment from yourself, you'll find that you also get it from others. Now, the eclipse season that happens in Virgo for you actually affects your mind. Believe it or not, Cancers are incredibly logical. They use their mind to organize all their feelings. And quite often, a feeling will directly lead them into a thought storm, and they often get lost in a thought storm, abandoning how they feel about things. So now it's time for basically a new computer system. The first event at Step 1 Virgo is calling for your dialogue to yourself to be more loving. If you're not more loving on the inside in that voice every time you speak, you're going to have a hard time upgrading to the new level. Then the full moon at 15 degrees Pisces will be you now releasing some belief you once had. Could be something you were taught in college. It could be something you were taught growing up. But a basic belief structure that was tied to people in daily life will be abandoned for a new, more spiritual belief structure that will take its place. And then finally, at 29 degrees, that final installment will be you pushing the limit to how far your mind can go. You're going to find that when you focus on nurturing your feelings and keeping the processors cool, your ability to think logically and think brilliantly is even higher. Leos Leos, you are in quite a position. I talked about you in the opening of the show because you were going through a profound transformation. It's been funny to watch because I myself have a Leo rising. So I'll do my best to be objective. But from what I can tell, we are creating a different way of operating in the moment. Mercury in the early degrees of Leo and the Sun in the high degrees wrapping up the top of Leo means the character of Leo is changing. When I started this show 19 years ago, I always called you Your Majesty and Royalty. And sort of based on that system where for some reason you were important and you didn't necessarily know why. You just were. That was because you had the ability to shine and shine love in a dark place. But now human beings are learning how to shine their own light. They've tapped into their own Leo and they're finding their own love, leaving Leos with an identity crisis. So this particular wrap up of your birthday period is the start of a new character that in the background is being monitored by Pluto and Aquarius, calling for you to be more high vibe with yourself and therefore more high vibe with the world. Now, this potential is also going to tie into a new concept about who you are and your purpose is. You see, Chiron has been working in Aries for some time now, but now at step 27, the Sun will trine Chiron, meaning that your new character will also be tied to a healed ego or bruised ego that's now healed around what your purpose is. You see, Leos, I think, had outlived their purpose. I think they were on the planet sort of marching around like royalty, when in fact we are dissolving that sort of aristocracy out. And so for a long time, Leos were confused on what their purpose is if they're not going to be there as a shining example or a knight in shining armor. But now I think you have understood your purpose. It has to do with wisdom. The fact that a king or queen reincarnated is very wise when it comes to how to do transformation. And the new era, it's literally how you transform yourself that will be your information to help the world transform themselves. In other words, we're going to go backstage with Leos into their palace and see what makes them tick. It's almost like a reality show in the future life where you're showing us how you change and how hard it is going from privileged to taking yourself and treating yourself right. Now, the new Virgo consciousness that comes in with the eclipse season has to do with your self-worth and your values. Leos are very picky about what they value and what they don't. This makes you excellent at purchasing things and owning property and trading property because you know what's worth what for what reason. But you're changing those details and changing those statistics now and valuing yourself more on spiritual things, such as time with your children, or spiritual things such as time to do art. And so this eclipse season is, as of step one, the first issue will be a new moon about how you value yourself, that how you value yourself is the basis of your soul capital. Then the full moon in Pisces will be you now releasing your situation when it comes to personal boundaries, where you are unwilling to change, unwilling to let people in, unwilling to be, what's the word I'm looking for, organic, or unwilling to be transparent. That was the term. So that eclipse helps you to become more transparent. And then that final one at 29 degrees Virgo with the installation of a new idea for abundance. And what's interesting is the idea for abundance has to do with you responding to your feelings all the time. If you don't self-nurture like crazy, you're just not going to get there. Basically, you must be your own staff and also royalty. Virgos, your birthday season is coming up, but before it does, you've got to establish a new soul contract with God Universe. The final degrees of Leo for you has to do with your promises you make to higher above. And the reason why I think Virgos are so meticulous is that they're really only in one love story in their whole life, their love story with God Universe. Why is that? Well, although they are earthbound, they see nothing as more valuable and more loyal and more worth respect than where they came from, their creator. And so really, you haven't been showing off for humans. You've been showing off for your creator, wanting to have a better reputation with your creator and assuming that your creator judges you like you judge you. Unfortunately, that's not the case, or I should say, fortunately, it's not the case. And so this week with the wrap up of Leo, it's about having a new love story with creator. Is it that you're trying to earn your way in, or is it you're trying to reflect God herself? That is really the question. And with Mercury in the early degrees of Leo, you'll at the same time putting your mind on the things that really matter, why you should have faith, not reasons why you may lose your faith. And so you're kind of going from half empty to half full and letting your heart lead the way. Now, the Sun trining Chiron in Aries also means that at the same time, you're going to change your capacity for transformation. You have been the earth sign, the stickiest of all our signs, and the heaviest. You have two step numbers, 11, 1 and 1. Tauruses are a bit lighter with 1 and 0. That 1 and 1 means that you're twice the size energetically and twice the willpower of the average human. That means that it's been very difficult for you to be flexible and change because you're basically designed to stay the same. That's the hardest part of you. And your Chiron represents a place where you're healing, based on a wound, based on you refusing to change. And so now going forward, it's time to let this new relationship to God, this new place with God, tie directly into the fact that you're willing to change, that you're willing to be flexible, that you're willing to go with the flow. By being willing to go with the nature of the universe, you will in fact change faster than all the other signs and find yourself probably there ahead of time. Now, that's a good setup because the eclipse season is in your sign. No sign will be transformed more than the Virgos in this eclipse season. Even the Pisces are going to come a close second. This is basically your self-treatment, your behavior, and the character you seek to become. That's what's under construction with you. The first event at step 1 Virgo means that every response to yourself must be self-loving. Rather than looking for a flaw, you should look for a reward. Rather than looking for something that's broken, look for something that you didn't see before as a talent. By changing the polarity of your response to yourself, you will prop yourself up for a total spiritual and physical makeover. The full moon in Pisces at 15 degrees will be a moment where you swap out certain relationships or certain relationship styles. So many Virgos will be saying goodbye to some of their friends and family and having a new crew kind of step in. Just don't ghost them like you have other people in the past, so you don't have any unfixed credit to leave behind or issues to fix, or karma is what I'm looking for. And then finally, the 29-degree Virgo is going to set the tolerance and the stage for how great your character can be, how amazing you can shine, and maybe to find a new title for where you're headed. That will be the complete swap out of the old Virgo with the new spiritual Virgo. And remember, the karma the whole time was your relationship pattern. So yes, by swapping out this ego and the way you perform, you will get a new flock of relationships that vibrate differently. Libras, you are going to go through one of the biggest changes of all the 12 signs. You rule the I receive state of awareness, which is the consciousness that allows yourself to receive. But what's been really funny is most Libras will not take a compliment. Oh, I know you want one. I know you want the attention. But once we give it to you, you always shy away. Ever wondered why that was? I think that's because in the old days, in the darkened world, anytime you had a gift, there came a string attached. And Libras learned politically and in a very manipulative way, because they're great politicians, that they should not accept that gift because otherwise they're accepting something in addition, something that is unseen. So as a result, most Libras sort of shied away in the Dark Ages and became less popular. But if you look at Leo in your astrological sign and chart, you'll find that Leo is for you in the house of society. Libras are supposed to be popular. Libras are actually the celebrities. They're actually the ones that can handle that popularity and not go too far because they keep things in balance. And so for this sun season, it's time for you to get honest with yourself and admit that you want to be a star, that you want to be shiny, that you want the attention and you want to give the autographs and you want to be the new Leos. In fact, I think you are here to be the new Leos, and that is starting this week. So it's now time to shine, to go ahead and be honest with yourself and accept what your heart truly wants. Now, what has kept you from doing this has also been your relationships. You see, your relationships where you have tried to be the star within a relationship have been throwing relationships off balance because paradoxically, a lot of Libras would say they were there for you, but they wouldn't be honest about what they wanted from it. And so they find themselves in relationships that were going south, and then they'd have to tip the scales and flip out and end the relationship because honestly, they'd chosen someone that was treating them the way they're putting yourself out there. You're putting yourself out there with all humility, not asking for anything, and you got partners that did just that. They treated you like crap and they didn't give you anything. But now Chiron at 27 says, your ego around marriage and partnership is finally healed. You're now ready to be an advocate for yourself and your other person. You now know there's a me-ridge and a we-ridge, and that both of them go together. And so the sun is going to tie your reputation in the world with this new approach that you have to relationships altogether. In fact, you're going to bring the new Libra in marriage out to the public. You could say you're about to marry the public, and that's a good time and a good way to go about it. I'm sure you'll be a good partner. Now, the Virgo season of eclipses for you is going to affect your faith in God. You have been very meticulous and self-judgmental when it comes to your relationship to Spirit and God, and you have always been too detailed and kept too much of a list of all your naughties and nices, and that has really kept you from having a true relationship to God. You've had a hard time connecting because you have so much judgment of yourself between you and higher self. So this eclipse season is here to cut out all that self-judgment and give you a new system to approach. The first event at Step 1 Virgo is going to be for you to love yourself and have faith in yourself no matter what. To be the God universe you were always wanting. To give yourself the benefit of the doubt and wait until there's evidence before you start to investigate or start to criticize. The full moon in Pisces halfway through at 15 degrees then allows you to swap out a personal dream set. In other words, You might have had children or been an artist or been this or been that, but your heart has pursued not things that you really wanted. Your heart has assumed and presumed the humble things. And so they haven't given you the greatest joy that you want. And then the highest eclipse at 29 Virgo is now calling for you now to go for your highest truth and be the person you've always wanted to be in the universe, to accept that you are a creator, that you are also a part of God, and that you also are a co-creator on an equal level to everyone, that no one comes above you whatsoever, giving yourself true justice. So Libra, I think this is a time where we're going to see the best of you. And I say, don't shy away from that popularity or fame. Scorpios. Scorpios are going for their career potential. With the sun in the high degrees of Leo, it's now time for Scorpios to go for it. In other words, to go for the power you know you can handle. And that's the thing. You are one of the few signs that can handle power. Now, it's true, in the old dark ages, you were also one of the signs that abused the power and kept it all for yourself and forced people to step down and kiss the ring. But now you've gone through your own humble pie, especially if you have been alive in the 80s. Pluto went through your sign and knocked the shift out of you. You were told where the boundaries are and aren't, and now you're ready to get back up onto your own throne, and this time be loved by yourself and by everyone else. So the universe is saying, Scorpios, go for it. Go for the title you want. Go for the power you want. Go for the influence you want. I don't feel, and I know you agree with me, that you will take advantage. It doesn't mean that everyone else taking advantage won't continue to in a bad way, but I do know that the Scorpios will be reliable. And I know that Scorpios are meant to take a certain place of power that's going to keep everyone from stepping on each other. In other words, there's a new light out there, there's a new era, and Scorpios are here to basically lead through love and through loving example. Now, the Chiron and Aries issue for you deals with what you have become in daily life. You began as the brutal one, and the one that pushed people around, that was too tough and really probably intimidated by power and power alone. I've always said that a Capricorn will judge someone as guilty, but they'll ask a Scorpio to go and massacre or kill that person if they're on execution. So you've had to be the bad guy, basically, the police cop, and people have not liked you, just like people don't like police. It's now time to heal that. You're no longer to play that role in the world anymore, because if you're pursuing love, you're going to be on the team of creation, on the team of making things different, not on the team of stopping and holding back the bottom line. It's the age of light, not the age of darkness, and we don't need you on the border of darkness. We need you on the border of heaven. Now, that said, the season of Virgo and the eclipses means that you're going to be transforming very many things that are in detail for you. Namely, you're going to be transferring the way you see yourself in the world. You've been too nitpicky and too critical of yourself and how the world sees you. Most of the time, the world does not see you that way, but you're so critical, you project your criticism back onto yourself. And you say that you're being criticized by people in that area, but you're not really, because what's happening is you're not being compassionate to your inner child, the Pisces side. So this eclipse season is here to completely replace your social reputation. You're going to get a whole new staff of faculty, of colleagues, of friends, etc., that all understand all the reasons why you're amazing and have no even count of where you're not amazing. The first eclipse means that when you step in society, you have to love yourself before everyone does. And that eclipse is going to push you to do that and make that policy. The next eclipse, with 15 degrees full moon in Pisces, calls for you to let go of all sorts of things you once held on to when it came to who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do when you grow up and all your personal dreams, and give yourself a new set of personal dreams, a new set of creativity, a new potential for personal love and joy. This is a big one because you've had a lot of karma come through the heart and a lot of heartbreaks. And then the final, it's the eclipse at 29 degrees Virgo, is going to push the envelope of what's possible in the world. In fact, you are a person who's here to push the envelope of what society can be. You not only are detail-oriented, but you have the Scorpio stinger to guard it and back you up. Sagittarius. Sagittarius, your heart now is looking for a new life purpose. And the thing is, you've always tried to do what will feel good to other people and other people will like. But in reality, you're supposed to believe in whatever your heart believes in. You are allowing yourself with this new sun in Leo to believe in what your heart believes in and have no proof, have no evidence, just believe. And here's the thing. When the people who rule belief structure believe in something with all their heart, they make it true. So you are here to create the belief in these things by pursuing your heart and your personal dreams and what you love. That is the difference you'll make. Whatever you love is going to change us and how we love that thing too. Now, the side Trine to Chiron means that this goes along with a broken heart that's now healing. You have tried with your whole heart to go after things that you really want. But in some cases, you're a little too abrasive. You've tried to race instead of walk. You've had more than one at a time going on, and you haven't really been loyal to anyone per se. And so part of the issue has always been that you yourself energetically have allowed yourself to chase just for the joy of love, but not for the meaning and purpose of love. Now you're bringing together your life's purpose with your also personal dreams. In other words, you're casting something you're in love with something you're meant to do, and tying your purpose into what you love. So this is a healing aspect, and this is giving Sagittarius a 5th chance at love, or 6th. Now, the other aspect that's important is, of course, this Virgo season. This Virgo season for you overall has to do with you and your career. That you are now forging a different career with different directions, and you want to go different places. And this area for you has to do with being not so hard on yourself, not so meticulous about making mistakes, and rather meticulous about making your heart's desire. Rather than not being good enough to fit in someone else's situation, you're now ready to create your own situation to the nth degree that no one could ever compete with, because you're so detailed. Everywhere you were picky to yourself, you're now hyper detailed for yourself. Now, the first event will be the new step 1 Virgo event, which will then plant the seeds with that new moon to making sure you are loving yourself with every decision you make. If every decision you make for yourself is loving, you'll go far. Then the full moon that happens in Pisces will be you swapping out your home, family, foundation, or your business office space. Basically, you need better space to work in and better space to grow out of, one that doesn't have so much karma. And then the final event at 29 degrees Virgo will be you pushing the envelope of what's possible for your career. You're here to be so meticulous about the detail that you can see between the cracks. You can see things that no one else sees. And you have the ability to do something before someone even knows it's a market. So taking that criticism into a powerful way of expression. All in all, I think the Sagittariuses have a lot of things to teach, and the things you love the most are the things we most need to know. Capricorns. Capricorns, you are now being tasked with making a strong line. You see, interestingly enough, I've been talking to friends and family about how I notice how Capricorns are still cheating. That's right. Some of you are still cheating. You're cheating in the sense of where you see an opportunity for yourself, you're very tempted to take it, even if it takes candy away from a baby. I'm not trying to draw you out as a villain or dark. I'm just saying that you have still been tempted to go the short way. The short way meaning without having to put your heart on the line. You see, Capricorns are meant to be wealthy and successful because they put their heart on the line. But you have not. You've kept your heart just to those who have been exclusive. And this week is a final call from the universe for you to get on the right side. You see, Capricorns will either lead by example, by doing the right thing first, or they'll be the ones marched in front of others as having done the wrong thing. You'll be the example of bad or the example of good. The difference is whether or not what you're doing is self-loving. That means that when you cross a line or draw a line, it has to be the most loving thing for yourself, which will happen to be the most loving thing for someone else. And notice the difference between loving and greedy. You may find that the most loving thing for yourself is not to be so greedy and take too much, but to leave for others to take as well. To not hop on every opportunity, but hop on the ones you love most. This will allow the economy to do well, and this will allow you to do well in the economy. That's because Pluto in Aquarius is bringing Capricorns to a higher vibration of what values really are. And you're going to move from material value to love value. And that happens this week, or it won't happen. Like I said, I think Capricorns are out of time. You're one of the signs I was talking about in the open that is too slow to grow. And so you have an ultimatum this week. If you don't follow your heart in all of your decisions, you'll be made an example of the bad example. Now, the Virgo season means a change, of course, in your belief structure. With the Virgo transits and the eclipses going on in Virgo, you're going to swap out what you have believed to be true. All the details and all the facts of how things are and how things aren't was based on the old corrupt system. You've been educated in the old corrupt system of power and abuse. And you're good at it. You're good at taking those notes and going forward, but the power structure is changing, which means you must change the nature of your beliefs. The first event at Step 1 Virgo calls for you to believe in yourself based on what you love. Only believe what you also love about yourself. If you don't love it, you don't really believe it. In fact, you may have a hard time standing up and telling people that you believe this or that because you don't really heartfelt love that idea in the background. You're just trying to subscribe to ideas that have given other people power at the time. Then that full moon in Pisces means you're going to swap out a whole mindset of rhetoric. That you've said all sorts of things, the right timing, the right sales funnels, the right marketing languages. All this right is officially wrong. It's now time to adopt a more spiritual approach to communication and intuitive approach to choosing your words. And then the final eclipse at 29 Virgo is going to call for you now to set the stages much higher as far as what your life's purpose is. That you're now on a different direction. And that direction could be defined as healing yourself and healing the world. That is what Capricorns are here to do. If you draw your boundaries with your heart, you'll be a world healer. If you draw your boundaries with your mind, you'll be a world example of someone sick that needs to be cleaned and healed. Aquarius now is in a very powerful position to change due to this Leo season, because Leo for you is how you treat yourself. You have always been a little cold to yourself and dismissive, and haven't really allowed yourself to accept the love that you deserve. That's because you are very anal retentive when it comes to the vibration and where the boundary is. You want to be a finely tuned instrument. And if you're not incredibly tuned and hitting the perfect chord, you've always been hard on yourself. And so as a result, you haven't really loved yourself in the background. And as a result, you haven't really gone far and manifested what you want. But all that changes. If you make your heart the one thing you care to satisfy in all relationships in life, your heart, loving yourself in the end, loving what you're doing, and loving the situation you're in with another person, putting that love of experience, that love of connection first, you will be the bright stars of the new era. You too are part of the new celebrity. I think Aquariuses are going to be the celebrities of the future. But it comes down to you treating yourself nicely in the moment, which comes down to a policy of self-love in the background versus self-punishment. Now, the sun, which is trining Chiron at 27 degrees Aries, means that alongside this, you must have a new mental adaptation. Your mind has been a bit of a brutal dictator to yourself and sometimes to others. This has been a survival technique. It's also that you use Aries energy to get the word out, because you are the person that knows the secrets of the universe, that knows the mystery schools, and so has been somewhat forceful in pushing those ideas out there. You've also been very defensive about accepting other ideas. And so your character as an intellect is a bit bruised and sometimes a bit brutal. But this new transformation of approaching all relationships with love and all relationships with a glow means that old reputation of being the one who is overwhelming the conversation or taking over the convo is now healed with a person that's open and ready to act in a moment's notice to do the new idea. Now, the Virgo constellation and these transformations of the eclipses does mean that you'll be doing some changes when it comes to your boundary structure. You are meticulous about boundaries. You're meticulous about who you let into bed with you. You're meticulous about what you let get to you and what you let shut down your boundaries. And see, this is it. In order to survive and do well during the dark ages, you created an overly complicated combination to the safe, one that you can't even remember how to open anymore. And so this eclipse season is going to allow you to swap out all of your security systems for nice new ones that are based on compassion. The first event with the step 1 Virgo event tells you that every decision in line and boundary you make for yourself must be a loving one, that your heart must be the consultant that answers whether or not you open or close the door. Then that full moon in Pisces is calling for you now to let go of a whole bunch of values that simply aren't valuable anymore. You had valued certain things during the dark ages like all of us, and those investments are going to work for you. It's now time for you to actually make money from your spirituality, from your spiritual approach, and most of all, from being compassionate to yourself and also compassionate to others. And the third event at 29 degrees Virgo is calling for you now to transform yourself and do something so transformative, it may even involve you personally starting to ascend and raise the vibration. In fact, after all, you are the people here to ascend in front of our eyes. And for that to happen, you have to be pretty darn flexible with where you draw the line. Pisces, you are now stepping into the golden light of daily life. Did you know that you're meant to be a bright, beaming sun like a Leo in the moment? That you're supposed to come with sparkles in your eyes, and you're supposed to come so loving like a happy Buddha that everyone feels better when we're around you? That's right. You are the light in the moment. You are the Holy Spirit. You are the Christ consciousness embodiment. Pisces is supposed to be in the moment a loving Christ consciousness. Christ as in creativity and creation energy, not necessarily any one religion. And so in this Leo season, it's time for you to aim for what your heart wants to be in the moment. Pisces very rarely want to be what's asked of them. They don't want to play that role. They want to do something different, something childlike and something fun. And it's now time for Pisces to create a lifestyle that will support that fun expression of themselves. So in this final golden egg or diamond egg invention, you're inventing a lifestyle that brings the brightest and best out of you. Now, that sun in Leo will be trining the Chiron in Aries, which means along with this must also be a healed self-worth. You had gotten really low in your self-worth because as you saw the world in the dark ages created all by material, you yourself allowed yourself to go there and allowed yourself to compromise your spiritual values and your heart to be successful, which means you had to be cold and sometimes brutal about money. And that brutality about money created a lot of Pisces who were born with a lot of lack. In other words, you associated ego ability with the ability to make money, accomplishment with the ability to make money, and neither are true. It's that you create value, and so you end up being very strong and forthright when you live in that love in the moment and you live in your highest self. So creating a lifestyle that feels valuable based on love and based on shining will actually lead to a healed ego around money. And I see Pisces moving into abundance here in the next year. Now, the Virgo eclipse season has to do with your relationships. You see, up until now, every relationship you have has been a criticism of you. That's because you've been highly critical of you. You have been in the background going with the flow in past lives, but in the background knowing full well that you've made a mistake here, you let this person down there, and you've done this there. And you came with all these details of all the reasons why you are imperfect when it comes to relationships. And that's why relationships have been so hard for you in this lifetime. You had many details to heal, many little aspects and judgments of yourself to let go of. Well, this eclipse season is going to cut out entirely your approach to relationships. The first event at Step 1 Virgo calls for you and your mirage to always love yourself first, to basically get mirrored to yourself and put your relationship to yourself as number one. When you treat yourself as number one, you provide for the abilities to go farther in relationships than you ever have. The full moon lunar eclipse that happens, the full moon event that happens, solar eclipse that happens in Pisces at 15 degrees will be the swapping out of a certain character and behavior pattern. That in order for you to go forward with these relationships, you have to stop acting the way you've been acting. You have to change the way you respond, the way you act, the way you present yourself, the way you what clothes you even wear, and have a whole new interface when it comes to how we see you and how we interact with you. And then the final event at 29 degrees Virgo is going to set you up for miraculous relationships, one to go above the concept of space and time, one to push the envelope of just how close people can be and what can be done when you're on a team and with someone else. So although Pisces have been anything but talented when it comes to relationships up until now, you will now find yourself enormously talented and enormously detailed at your brilliance. Pisces are going to set the stage for how to be in a relationship. And it all comes from surrendering to your heart and surrendering to the lifestyle that's about some serious joy. All right, friends. That's all we have for our soul horoscopes this week and our zodiac weather. I hope you've enjoyed our little broadcast. We'll be back in 1 week with more. Until next week, remember, we love you here. Live, love, be.
Coming up next week on Serious Joy TV, join Sensei Christopher and tune in to ASTROMINGLE for special guest Megan of Solar Glow Meditations. Known for exploring the universe by asking spirit questions through dowsing rods, Megan has become TikTok's go-to dowsing rod expert, offering simple yes or no answers to life's most profound questions. The best in enlightened entertainment, only on Serious Joy TV.